Hey everybody, welcome back to the agency. I'm Wandering Kid. Well, we're going to be doing our Duna Hohmann transfer burns today. And while we do this, I figure now's a great time to have a discussion and maybe a mini tutorial on how to do interplanetary transfers. So, with that in mind, we are 11 days from the window opening for our Duna transfer. The first thing to look at is head over to see Interactive Illustrated Interplanetary Guide and Calculator for KSP. See this big section, what do you need to know? This site will walk you through it, but I'll give you the highlights. First thing you need to know for your optimum transfers is the angle between you and your target based on where you are. So as you can see, this is a 44.36 degrees. It's kind of tough to nail, but it's basically 45 degrees. The second thing you need to do is know where in your orbits you want to start your transfer burn point on your orbital trajectory. If you adjust your parking orbit, let's say I made this 250 kilometers, you notice that it moves ahead a little bit. If I make this 73 kilometers, it moves it back a bit. Your phase angle is this. This is the phase angle between the two. The ejection angle is how far off prograde you go. Your ejection velocity is how much delta V you're going to have on departure. Your ejection burn delta V is down here. So if I launch from 73 kilometers, it's 1.01, about 1,059. If I launch from 150 kilometers, it's 1,015. So by being up there, it takes me a little less burn. Make this extreme, let's put it at 500, and it really goes down. But you'll notice my ejection velocity goes down too. So that's basically what's going on here. So I'll be using this after I figure out where my parking orbits are, 75, 76. I'll be putting in maneuver nodes. I'll bring this back in a second. So as I said, remember we needed a 44.36 degrees. If we take a look, underneath this mob of stuff is Kerbin. Aim that roughly at 90. 45 will be roughly about that direction. So yeah, we're getting in right nice and tight. So, let's fast forward things. Okay, the Duna window is here. Now, if we take a look at how our orbits are looking, Kerbin's in there. It's looking like it's pretty close. Alright, let's grab the first of our ships we're going to send off. Let's start with the Helm. It's the first ship we put up. I believe it should have the honor of being the Vanguard ship. So I think we finally fully loaded up here. Our engines are not on. Where are these engines? Alright, let's let's add a new stage. Let's bring these down. Let's confirm that these engines here are off, because otherwise things will get ugly. Okay, good, they are off. We should be alright here. Now, our orbit is sitting between 103 and 97K. So if I punch in a 100 kilometer parking orbit, I need to be at 150.91 degrees from prograde. So if I bring us in, and if I add in a maneuver node, you notice node burn time, node angle to prograde, node angle to retrograde. Let's bring this back. So roughly about there. Now it says my ejection burn delta V is going to be 1043.06. So let's bring this up to about 1,000 and then we'll start doing adjustments. Wow, you look at that. Doing an encounter in 238 days. We'll bring that up a hair. It's a 42 mil periapsis. If we bring this back a bit, 21 mil. If we bring it back a little further, 25 mil. Okay. So bring it back to where it was about 21 mil. There. Now, if I adjust these a little bit, I'll tell you what, we'll just leave that at 21 mil for now, and we'll just do that. So in 26 minutes and a second, This is going to be a 6-minute burn. This is really a long burn. This is actually going to be one of the worst burns we're going to have to do be able to do this. Let me turn off RCS. But there's just really no helping it. And actually, I need to disconnect this. This shouldn't be here. That's going to throw me off all over the place. Let me get into it. R. Why won't you go away from that? You've got RCS on. You have no power? No power. Okay, it's not a fine or serious control. Oh, you know what? I think I turned off the RCS ports. That's why. Alright, let's bring this down to a slightly lower orbit and just get it away from the ship. There. That should keep us from coming into accidental contact. Now we've just got to rotate this monster. So as we finish bringing this around, my intention is to gap all of the ships by about 2 to 3 hours apiece. I want some vig and some time in my approaches so that I can have plenty of time to deal with orbital rounding issues and getting my aero brake straight, all of those things. So I don't want these guys to end up coming in right on top of each other as the flotilla. So I'm going to gap them by about 2 to 3 hours apiece, just to make sure that my 5 ships aren't coming in one giant cluster. So we're going to put in an alarm to make sure I don't miss my burn time. We'll make it 5 minutes out to adjust for any drift. So we're coming up on our 3-minute mark for our burn. Kind of aimed into the horizon a bit here. 6 minutes is a very long burn. Any longer than this, and I'd be thinking about doing it in 2 passes, but we're going to give this a go. Now, I'm going to sit here through this wonderful adventure at ×1 speed, but you don't have to. Something I'd like to note is that I no longer have that roll that I was getting previously in the Ares helm after I came through and reconnected the engines up and made sure that the docking ports were locked on straight. So that's definitely helping this burn. What's not helping this burn, though, is that my periapsis is dropping like a brick. I don't think we're going to be in danger of actually going under 70K into Atmo, but I'm going to be kind of curious to see what this burn looks like on the far side. It may not be dead accurate, so we may have to do some significant adjustments once we break curve in SOI. So our node is about halfway to completion. We started burning at 3 minutes out for a 6-minute burn. Because of the length of the burn and because it adjusted my actual orbit while I was doing the burn and pushed my periapsis down, what's happened is my burn time here for 3 minutes and 20 seconds is no longer accurate to be centered on the center of the node. We are, however, climbing at our periapsis again. We've gotten past it. So it's just going to be a little longer of a burn than we had originally expected. Shouldn't be too bad. At this point, we should be looking at some SOI breaks, although maybe not quite yet. So we're under 10 seconds for our original burn estimation. And as we close it on the end here, it doesn't look like we're going to be quite right. Maybe we will be, but it's not looking all that sound. I'm going to be ready to knock off the stability assist here in a moment. Oh, well, no, maybe we'll be alright. My actual periapsis looks like it should be okay. Let's get that extra 0.5 meters per second in. Alright, so 237 days for our transfer, and it's getting flaky on it. Looks like our Duna periapsis will be 29 million meters. Or 29,000 K. We'll adjust that once we get out into solar orbit. I'm not going to worry about that until we break SOI, and then I'll do an orbital modification. Doesn't look like we hit any other SOIs on our way out, so that's good. Alright. So we'll be leaving Kerbal orbit in 4 days. Well, Kerbin SOI. Make this stop. Alright, so now for the next one, which we want to gap out by about an hour, so we'll let it rotate a bit. Let's see here. Who do I want to go to next? Our brave Kerbals, though, are on their way to Duna. Now we need to send the rest of the support ships for them. So I decided I'm going to send the Test 2E Ike next. And as I feared, my phase angle is actually decreasing with Duna, so the faster I do this, the better off I'll be. But in the meanwhile, I did just pass where I'm going to want to put my orbital point. My maneuver node for this one is 151.37, so we'll add in a maneuver. So roughly about there. 1058 for this height. Not quite an intercept yet. There we go. 24 million periapsis. Let's go a little quicker. 20 mil. There we go. Alright, now this burn's only going to take me 1 minute and 18 seconds because this thing's got plenty of thrust on it. That burns in 26 minutes. So at 39 seconds, we begin our burn. Well, I have to get rid of that space debris down in, from Central Command. Make sure I'm not leaving Kessler bombs up here. There we go. Test 2E will have a Duna encounter in 242 days, 244 for our periapsis. So 2 days on approach. I'll add in its SOI change. So enough time has passed. Let's go grab the boots. So here we have the boots. We'll target it at Duna. Don't really need this for a minute. Now let's set up its orbital change. This thing has 0.23 TWR. It's not exactly kicking top speed here. Make sure that's at full throttle. It is. Alright. We're sitting at 85 for this. So if I punch that in, I want 151.19, 1052 for our burn. Alright, so somewhere around here, start there. Angle to prograde, I'm a little too far. There. Alright, let's beef that up to 1030, 1040. Look at that burn time. It's way too much. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to loop out and come back in. I'm going to do this. Let's get 500 meters per second on the first pass. Alright, that's a 4 minute and 33 second burn. That's at least in the realm of reasonable. And then what we'll do is we'll kill this node and I'll rebuild it. So let's get ourselves turned around. Let's turn RCS off. We have all the time in the world right now. Turn SAS off so I can just gently roll. So we're 15 seconds out roughly from our burn point. I've turned on RCS to aid in holding the maneuver node because this monster comes in at 676 tons, which is why it's got almost no TWR. Once I kick in the engines, it'll be able to hold the maneuver node a little cleaner. This burn's just to help us out with our Delta V for our next come round. So here we go. So we're nearing completion of our burn here for the boots on its first burn. I'm going to stop it just shy of 0. No, stop. Alright. Now before I clear this node, what I want to show you guys is this. If you'll notice, the maneuver node we had is actually down where our periapsis is now. So we're going to clear that, and right on our periapsis we're going to drop another node, and we're going to finish our burn after doing that. Something to notice, I burned off roughly 50 tons of fuel in that burn. So now we're going to increase our burn again. Let's take, whoops, and let's zoom out and see where that gets us. Let's make sure the node is open. I think I'm overburning there a bit. Let's bring that in a little bit. There, that looks a little closer. Alright, so let's see here. If I bring it back a little bit more, there we go. I get an encounter in 236 days. We'll do that. So my next burn is 4 minutes 34 seconds. Again, reasonable. So this is how you do multi-pass burns. And it'll be coming around in an hour and 23 minutes because of our new orbit. So we'll let ourselves settle out. We'll get to the maneuver node. One of the things I'm going to do is, remember, my fuel lines don't work, so I'm going to push fuel down into here, just because this one's draining properly from above, these aren't. So I'll get that fuel pushed around. But I'll bring you guys back for the next burn. So we're coming up on our second burn node, which we've already measured out, and will get us where we want to be. We're looking at another 544 meters per second burn. This time it'll go faster for that amount because we've improved our TWR. We kick it off at 2 minutes and 15 seconds, which we'll get to in a moment. And we're off. So our double burn is about to complete on the boots. We're coming in on the last 85 meters per second here. So I'm zooming out to make sure that we get our intended orbit. We've got about 38 seconds worth of burn to go though, so this might take a moment. Alright, so that was more than a moment or two before we saw anything happen out here. I'm just coming in on our timer now. There we go. That's pretty close. That's going to bring us in 242 days. That should work out nicely. 243 days, 5 hours, 245. That'll work. So I decided to bring the shield around for the next burn. This burn's going to take us a minute and 30 seconds total. It may actually be the first one there at 218 days, just because of the way I've got this lined up at the moment. So it'll get there pretty reasonably quickly, actually. However, the shield does kind of move like a slug with this giant thing hanging out the tail of it. But we'll get this burn down here. I'll show you the beginnings of it anyway, once we get around to it. So we're coming up on our burn time. 45 seconds. The big deal for this is I've got this big kick engine on the back that's going to get us a good chunk of the speed we need. Here we go. So this has been a much simpler and cleaner burn. I haven't had to disconnect here yet. I had intended on using these engines as support for this one, but it doesn't really seem to be necessary, and I'm afraid of the engines damaging one of the fuel tanks back here, so I've just decided not to do that. Let's cut that for a second. Let's go to the map. Let's see how we're looking here. Just let you realign there for a second. Get that little 0.1 delta V out, which makes huge difference over there. There we go. So we'll cut that. Coming in at 14.2 mil. Not too shabby. And finally, last but not least, is going to be the sword. The sword still has its liftoff launchers attached to it, so that'll help give us a nice little kick. Let's see here. I need to create a node back this way. He's orbiting at 72. What does this tell me for 72 kilometers? 72 kilometers is 151.43 ejection, 1060.04 for the burn. So let's start with the maneuver at 151.43. See if I can get it that accurate. Oh, that's pretty close. And if we expand that, I need 1060. Let's bring it up to 1040, and then we'll go from there. It takes forever to zoom out with these large ships with large part counts. So let's bring that up to 1060 and see what that looks like. There's my 1060. Doing an encounter in 218 days. I'll come in at about 15 mil. I'll take that. Burn time is minimal. 48 seconds worth of burn. This thing has so much thrust on it. So we'll get ourselves rolled around and we'll get over to the burn point. So the sword's getting ready to ignite its burn. I'm having a little trouble getting it onto the maneuver node here. It's being a little fussy. It's a very heavy craft. I don't have enough reaction wheel on it. It's 274 tons. Definitely not a minuscule craft. But yeah, we'll be hitting the throttles here at 24 seconds. And ignite. And separation. Nice and clean. I like it. So, here's how the sword looks without any random bits and pieces on it. And now we just finish our Duna burn. So we should be approaching our end of node here in a moment. Just ripping off that last couple of meters per second there. That's good enough. So our periapsis will be 38 mil at 216 days out. I had wanted to set its target to make my life easier for later. And that's our transfer burns, guys. Hey guys, so came out here just to double check on my asteroid recovery vehicle here, and I've got a bit of a problem. Fuzzy One mentioned that I may not be able to get thrust out of my engines because they may be blocked by the asteroid. I laughed and giggled and said, of course I will. Or not. They're blocked by the asteroid. I can't actually get speed with this guy now. The tug, while cute and fun and all, ain't gonna work. Not for a B class anyway. The thing's just too frickin' big. Rats. So Fuzzy One in one of my comments had showed me a tow that basically aimed these out like 15-20 degrees. And apparently that works. So I may have to redesign this with kind of angling these off to the side so that I can get my thrust out of them, or at least some form of thrust out of them, because, well, this just ain't gonna work. I'm not entirely sure what to do with this craft now. I may have to go ship it to Duna. Just as an emergency tug and whatnot. Because, well, it's useless here. But as a tug, it's kind of pointless too. I'll melt anything that's right behind the engines. This just isn't long enough. Well, sugar pumpkin. I mean, I suppose in theory I could just get behind it and push. I don't know how well that's going to work, but It's a theory. Oh well. Well, back to the drawing boards on this. I'm not sure what to do with this. So you guys weren't here when I did this, but I launched off the A-Class TOW 2, which is currently getting its orbit figured out to go intercept our B-Class asteroid the A-Class went to. Of note, the engines, yes, I know they have a name. The engines are pointed out at an angle. Hopefully this will cure our ills. We'll find out shortly. In the meanwhile, all of our guys are about to leave SOI, so I think we're going to jump over to that. So the Ares helm is about to depart curve in SOI, but looking back on our quintet of ships, the boots, the shield, and the sword are kind of have a bit of a pile-up going on back there. The boots is leaving SOI in 4 hours and 2 minutes, the shield in 4 hours and 7 minutes, so they're basically coming in right behind each other, even though I went out of my way to not have that happen. My guess is they'll spread out pretty decently in transit, but we shall see how this goes. In the meanwhile, this should be into Solar SOI here shortly. Alright, and there we go. The Ares helm is now in a solar orbit. We still have our Duna encounter out there. It's a little twitchy. We'll zoom this out a bit. Let's see, how are we on our node? We're negative 0.1. Let's see if we can't get this a little straightened out. What we'll do is we'll put a maneuver along our path here. Let's see. Currently, our periapsis is thinking it's going to be at 29. Come on. That brings me to 29.2. Brings me to... Good grief, what is this thing doing? Alright, that's enough of that. Hang on. Wait, that's in 14 days. Let's see if we can get this thing to settle out. Not. Oh, good grief. Really wish they'd get this settled down a bit. Alright, so we can get it down to 14 on our first adjustment here, it looks like. Bring it this way a little bit. 14.1. Alright, so we'll have a burn in 16 days, just a little one, a little 50 meters per second burn. And we'll get this straightened out and hopefully get this better aligned. And then somewhere as I come in close, probably about 20 or 30 days out, we'll set up another burn. Our orbital speed right now is 10,154 meters per second. I'll get this spun around and then we'll go get the Ike out. So we're currently piloting the Ike. It's about ready to hit solar orbit. How do you like that? Alright. This one at least is a little bit more stable. We're looking at 23.8. We'll give him a burn here. No, not that quite that close. Yeah, give me an hour out. Let's see what we can do to adjust that. So 23.8. If I slow down a bit, it's 27. That's 37. That's no good. So that's 25. So just a bit of a nudge, apparently. It's 20. This one at 23. Wait a second. What was I at before? I was at 23. So everything I'm doing is making it worse. What happens if I speed up? Oh, that brings me to 19. There we go. 16, 14, 11, 11.5. Yeah, it looks like 11.5 is the best I'm going to do that way. My descending node is 0.1, so if I push up a bit, so there we go. With some adjustments on our orbital approach here, I can get myself down to 329K over Duna. That'll put us in a much better position to see if we can't aim for an arrow break with this. And that's just a little 23.7 meters per second burn. So we'll get that set up. That one will trigger in about an hour. So before the boots actually even leaves KSOI. Very nice. And so here's the test 2E getting ready for its burn. We're still using our injection phase. We should have plenty, and I'll make further adjustments as we get closer to Duna and I can see the local orbits and stuff like that. But right now this is just basic, I'm just trying to get it close. Okay, let's kill that. Where are we looking at? 350. Yeah, I can't quite decide where it wants to be. Let's put it on rails for a second. It's still kind of bouncy, but we're good. So for this one, I'm just going to add in the Duna SOI change. And put that at 10 seconds out. So we'll be entering Duna's SOI in about 224 days with the Ike. Well, the Test 2E Ike anyway. So now to the boots. So the boots has just entered solar orbit. We're going to let the shield do its thing without us for a minute. This is a periapsis of 34 mil. We'll put a... Oops, no, not that maneuver. I don't want a one-day maneuver. Or, well, actually, one day would be fine. 1 year is no good. Yeah, I keep getting this 1 year bit. Why do I keep doing that? Okay, I keep highlighting the purple one. I don't want the purple one. I want the blue one. Well, this is frustrating. Let's get in nice and tight. Maybe that'll help. There we go. Hey, what do you know? Alright, now let's see if we can adjust this for a better approach. So we're at 34.1. If I speed up, I separate. That's no good. To slow down, I get to 21 mil. Keep slowing down, I go to 13. Okay, that's the right direction. So 3.6 if I go there. So we'll set up that burn for the boots. It's a 7.5 second burn. Yeah, give me a minute. This thing turns like a slug. Next up is the Ares shield coming into SOI. So here's the shield. We're about to enter Solar SOI. But very oddly, it looks like I have a periapsis. It's down around Joule instead of up around Duna. How? What? That was very strange. Alright, well, either way. No, stop. Man, I'm getting that 1 year maneuver again, so let's zoom all the way in. Let's kind of see where we're going if I can get the... There we go. Yeah, we'll add one in 3 hours, that's fine. So, our periapsis of 14.1. Let's see if we speed up. Yeah, we'll take that 684 and then we'll adjust later. So, a little 12.8 meters per second burn. Get ourselves turned around for it. And for our final ship needing a secondary set of maneuvers, we have the Ares Sword. So, we'll pop out to the map here. We've got a 38.8. We'll just set a node up here. Yeah, an hour should give me plenty of time. After a bit of dinking around, it looks like 3.6 mil is the best I'm going to do from this particular maneuver node. At least with the precision I've got. So we'll do another adjustment for him further down. So we'll get him set up, and our actually he'll be first burn it looks like. So we'll get him to do his burn. So we're getting ready for a burn, and I know I got a lot of comments on the boots as to how pretty of a ship it was. But I have to say the sword is actually one of my favorites. It's not the cleanest lines, like it just randomly cuts off back here, but in general, I like the look of this ship. But either way, we're coming in on our burn time. I'm going to bring it up to half speed-ish. You don't have to be quite so dead on target way out here, because little maneuvers aren't quite as exacting when you're playing with solar orbit. So you can get to your delta V eventually. You want to be precise with your delta V cost and accuracy more than you will care about being precise on time. And we're almost there. I'll let that catch up with that a bit. Now, for fine precision, I'm going to turn on RCS instead of using my thrusters. I'm going to push forward with RCS. I think. Am I using my RCS? I don't see any thruster boost. Why am I not seeing thruster? They turned off? No, they're on. Oh, I closed off all the monopropellant. Hang on, let me turn one of them on. There we go. That was so when I had the burners going during the launch phase, it didn't burn off all my RCS here inside the main system. So, there we go. Alright, so we're there. That should be where we need to be. And if we just double check the map, that brings me into a 3.6. Okay, that's cool. So somewhere way out there, I'm going to want to do another burn for adjustment. Let's zoom this out for a second. So I change SOIs in 223 days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a raw time alarm out there for, let's say, 215 days. No. I want raw time. 215 days. For an approach adjustment. And that's when the conics will be much tighter as to where I'm going to end up, things like that. So, we know that's going to happen way up there. We've got the early visitor heading in. The sword will get its adjustment. Ike, actually, I'm worried about the SOI, because that's coming in nice and tight. Boots, shield, and helm we still have to worry about. So we'll head over to the boots. And I'm not going to show you the rest of these birds unless something of interest occurs, but this is basically what I'm going to be doing. Either I get them in nice and tight, figure 600 to 700k, or I'm going to be doing another burn, say 5 to 15 days out from Duna for a final correction burn to bring them in. And the next time you see these ships, unless something goes horribly wrong, or horribly right, will be on our final Duna approaches. So after all our correction burns and getting our SOI adjustments set up, the Ares Shield, which is our protection ship, our double check for landers, and our Ike station, will be the first crossing into SOI at 194 days. The sword will get an adjustment a little bit after that. That's about 15 days ahead, or 15 days out. The Ike then will be the second one into SOI. The Test 2E Ike, so we'll get ourselves set up on Ike before we actually set up on Duna. And the boots and the helm will be our finals. Even though the helm left first, the shield will get there first. This is how it works out sometimes. But this flotilla is basically going to approach within about a 40-day window overall. So you guys remember that B-class asteroid I was trying to capture? Yeah, that's it sailing through now, and I had screwed up all of my orbits and everything to try and intercept. We missed that one. So at this point, I'm going and chasing another one, which is ANE 213. The other one was taking a trip through the northern area up here somewhere. So we're going to go see if we can't catch him. At this point, I've lined up my outbound orbit. We're actually at node. And we're going to go see if we can't catch this one. So I will see you guys in solar orbit. So we're going to see if I can do this approach on this A-class asteroid a little better. So first, we'll see what we can do about our intersect with speed. And if I go, let's see, our intersect right now is 4.2. If I go faster, I go to 4.8. So we need to go slower. Now that's 4,400 kilometers. Let's see what we can do by adjusting our radial and non-radial. Bring those closer together. It's 3,000, that's not too bad. That's 248. That was too far. 68 kilometers. I'll take that for a first burn. And so after a burn, we got the 65.7. Not too shabby. I'm going to set up a burn, let's say, 5 days ahead of that. So our intersect is in 10 days, 4 hours. I will add a raw time alarm. Well, let's make it 2 days. So 8 days, 2 hours. Alright, let's fine-tune our approach. So we have a 65.7 kilometer intercept. Let's see if slowing me down helps any. I've got 2 intercepts there now. I want intercept 1. Oh, it's speeding up. Speeding up brings me up to 190, so neither of those help tremendously. Come on, kill the maneuver, thank you. So, starting at our 65.7 again, let's see if normal, anti-normal help. It does. Well, it did briefly. $30. Now radial and anti-radial. Nope. 49.5. 49.9. So we're just gonna adjust these slightly, see if we can't get closer. 39.9, that's not good. 24.6. Alright, that gets us in a little tighter. 20 kilometers actually isn't bad. So after this, our next one will be basically our meetup burn. So we'll get this burn done here in a moment. Okay, now I can see a little closer what I want to do. I'll get Kerbin out of the way there. Alright, so right in about there, we'll add a maneuver. Now, first things first. Its orbital velocity, 9377. My orbital velocity, 9171. So, 206.2 in forward speed. There we go. Next up, we get rid of this descending node. There we go. Finally, we match the difference in target speeds. So from 219.3 to 343.6. And we need to be able to see the maneuver node and the reversal node on the nav ball to make sure this is getting closer to that. There we go. So 330, 39. There we go. And that's a near perfect nav ball for us. So once we get into there, we have a 1 minute, 3.4 second burn, and we'll close in on our asteroid here. So we've begun our burn. I'm looking around for the asteroid. I think he's below me a little bit. There he is. 26.1 kilometers away. We'll kill our relative speed here. That's what that last maneuver does, is it kills our relative speed. And from there, we'll just close in on the asteroid. So, as was brought up on the last time I tried doing the asteroid intercept, apparently I had done the math wrong. I was about 100 dB off when I had done the initial speed compare. I apparently needed a calculator, so my bad. At this point, we're more interested in canceling our relative speed than we are in the maneuver, so we'll get rid of that. Alright, now, let's approach target. I'm using the buttons because I'm lazy at the moment. And because this shit doesn't... you can take control back relatively easily. Keep it from getting keep it from getting too out of hand, I should say. Alright. 24 kilometers, we'll close in, let's say, at 50 meters per second. Now as we close in, I'll lead off a bunch of this speed. Let's bring ourselves down to, let's say, 25 before we get too close. Alright, now we just need to go hook up to it. So, let's target the center of mass. Let's control from there and arm it. Let's bring ourselves around. Now I've been curious to see if the docking port alignment indicator has any helpfulness here. Nope. Alright. So we'll just get ourselves aimed up at target. Turn on RCS and we'll just approach. Our mass going into this is at 21.32 tons. We're done. There we go. Not quite sure what that message was. Something about the asteroid not being the size that somebody requested. Now, I do have an A class and a B class here waiting to go, so that's probably the problem. Okay, so we have an A class in tow. We're good. Shut up that contract menu. So we're up to 27.73 tons now. Not too shabby. Alright, so our next maneuver is simply waiting for us to get inside Kerbin orbit. Around there. So if we focus view on Kerbin, take a look at our periapsis here. We got a maneuver. Oh, let's bring it into a real orbit. Let's aerobrake an asteroid. 37, that works. And so in 27 days and 4 hours, we'll be burning this into orbit. And now out of sheer curiosity, I want to make sure we can... Yep, okay. Thrusters are working. Now you definitely want to leave your RCS on while you try and turn things. Oops, I'm in from the wrong point. Now we want to control from here. And stop it. Go. Get ourselves lined up on the maneuver, well, whenever, basically, but we'll just make my life easier now. And we'll fast forward up to our burn-in point, because everything else is waiting on Duna. And we're just killing time. So coming in, I've realized a mistake I made. That little 0.2 degree, or 0.2 delta V I spent way out there really screwed me up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a maneuver node way up here, and we're just going to straight up arrow burn in, but it looks like I got to drag one around because it's being fussy. There we go. Now, if I bring this over, let's see. Combination of speed and radial should save me some decent delta V in getting an aerobrake with this. Now we'll start with a 28k periapsis and we'll go from there. So a little 34-second burn and we'll get this taken care of. So I'm looking at this thruster and I'm not sure that I angled these up enough to actually get around a B class, because this is merely an A class. And they're just barely making it around it, so I may actually need a completely different style for a B class. Alright, so we're 100k up from Kerbin. Couple of things I need to do before we aerobrake. I've got plenty of power on this thing. We're going to bring in our panels. Now in 1.0, apparently you can't bring in these types of panels. You have to bring the ones with the shielded covers. Well, that's okay. I'm not in 1.0 yet. Next up, I need to turn myself retrograde. Well, let's see if I can find Kerbin. There you are. So, roll ourselves over. I don't care about target, I care about orbit. Now, because this is such a light asteroid, I can sit here and do this with the RCS pretty easily. Some of the others, I'd have to turn off SAS and bring ourselves around. Okay, there we go. I'll have him hold retrograde. Turn off. Well, now I'll leave RCS on. How much monoprop do I still have? Oh, I got plenty. So we'll enjoy a nice burn cinematic. I'll learn how to speak today. Definitely got plenty of speed coming in. This should be a nice fireworks show. If I kill ambient light, yeah, we're on the dark side. I may have brought this in a bit too deep. We're landing, ladies and gentlemen. We are landing this asteroid. Not much I can do about that. Oh my. I don't have thrust to weight to pick this back up. Oh dear. This is why you should use your aerodynamics calculators, huh? Oh dear, this is gonna hurt. You know what? Screw it. Bomb the planet. Have an asteroid. Bombs away. I don't think we're going back to orbit, though. I'm just hoping I can land this thing, maybe-ish. Maybe I should have held on to that. At least maybe I could have tried to bring it in with me. Or make a big poof or something. That's about to disappear. There it went. Come on, get over the mountain. Maybe I can salvage the ship. The ship's only worth 80k, including its launcher, but still, I'd like to try. Either that or we're up for a fantastic explosion. Alright, let's start burning fuel. If I can burn enough fuel, maybe I can get my thrust to weight up enough. That's weird, it still thinks I got something targeted. Huh. We'll take a look for that here in a minute. Yeah, this is gonna be painful, folks. Here we go. Oops. We have some debris. What survived? What is that? Oh, that's one of the structural pieces that was holding on the claw. Well, that's how you bring an asteroid home. That's not how you put it in orbit. All right, let's go to the Space Center. Let's go see if we can find that asteroid. Let's see if it landed. I doubt it did, but since it was still set up as target, why not? Take a look. So I'm poking around in the tracking center, and no, I don't see it, guys. It looks like we lost it. We'll recover a little bit of debris there. Well, that should end this episode of the agency, guys. Next episode, we'll be pulling into Duna, doing our aero brakes, and getting ourselves set up. As always, thanks for watching.